Yes, hello mate, how's it going? Welcome on back to the channel Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. As always mate, I do hope you're doing well, and I genuinely do hope that. Welcome back to Chelsea News, which of course is the daily series here on Football Therapy, where I reflect on what's being said about Chelsea, giving you my thoughts on it, my feelings, and as always, more importantly, asking for yours. Today we're reacting to a little bit of stuff. I want to speak about the potential Champions League opponents, because PSG played Monaco yesterday, and actually there's an interesting article on the Chelsea Chronicles titled by Jack Drury, titled, "I saw Monaco versus PSG in the Champions League. Chelsea have nothing to fear. Reminder, we're going to play either PSG, Monaco, Newcastle, or Carrier Bag," who, by the way, we drew with in the Champions League phase. So we got to take them man seriously. So, obviously the big potentials are Newcastle, who are having a tough time in the league, and PSG. So we'll speak about that a little bit. Today, the 18th of February, at time of recording, there's been talk of Dusan Vlahovic, and yes, it's an unsexy striker's story, just after yesterday when I was waxing lyrical about Chelsea's potential centre-forward options. But I did not pick this up before, that Vlahovic is a free agent in the summer. When's the last time we got a free transfer? Tosin, I guess? Tosin? And he'll come up in the final part of the segment, and this is classic midweek no European game stuff. We're going to go through the squad again like we've done recently, but something that I used to do, I'm going to rank the performances this season for each player. That's a fun way to cause some controversy. Oh, it's a game of opinions. It's just a bit of fun. This is the kind of stuff I enjoyed listening to or seeing on YouTube channels or listening on podcasts. So I figured I'd do it for you guys. I've listed up, I've got the graphic with the players. We're going to go through one by one and scrutinize them. And I will, on the spot, pull out of my buttocks a ranking system. I'm wondering whether I grade them like A, B, plus, minus, or I do like a 1 to 10 scale rating system. We'll decide when we get there, gang. Let's put on my maid's outfit and do some housework as I ask you to subscribe to Football Therapy. Drop a like if you enjoy the content. It is helpful. You can still hype the video up down here. Click your hype points. Hype. But yeah, thank you for subscribing. You're all welcome, of course, mate. Should you choose to subscribe, you should hit that sweet, sweet bell, baby. Ooh, it's a little bit smoother today. Bearing in mind, you can also search Football Therapy Podcast, watch the video on Spotify. And like I said to you before, I won't do every content, but every now and again I'm just going to check in and see how many 5-star ratings we've got, because we're probably over 900 now, which is superb. So yeah, you people like podcasts, Football Therapy Podcasts, and all good podcast apps. Right then. So I'm just going to read a little bit from this article about I'm not going to share the screen until we get to the profiles of the men's team, when we do our ratings and our rankings, or potentially gradings. Like I said, I'll decide when we get there, but Jack Drury of the Chelsea Chronicle writes the following: Chelsea could be facing one of Monaco or Paris Saint-Germain in the round of 16 in the Champions League. However, on the evidence of their playoff first leg, the Blues have nothing to worry about. That is the kiss of death right there. Liam Rosenior steered Chelsea to a 6th place finish in the groups. This is the group stages. But we all know it's not the group stages, it is the league phase. Singular, not plural, and it's not a group, it's a league. Meaning they avoided a 2-legged playoff. Yes, absolutely. This is why right now I'm creating different kinds of content for you. The Blues will face one of Monaco, PSG, Newcastle or Qarabag in the next round, with the highlight potential tie being, of course, against the current Champions League holders, who we beat, lest we forget, in the Club World Cup final when they were at maximum power. Granted, they were probably very tired. 3-0 in a game they very much wanted to win. You could tell by the fighting. Luis Enrique's side beat their Ligue 1 rivals 3-2 away from home in the first leg. However, the scoreline doesn't tell the full story of the game, where they struggled in last proportions. In fact, PSG were 2-0 down in like the first half. So in 20 odd minutes, wasn't it? Florian Balogun, remember him? And looked in trouble when Ousmane Dembele was forced off of an injury. I actually I did watch the beginning of this game, and then I switched over and watched that insane affair between Benfica and Real Madrid, because we all knew that it was going to be box office, but when Monaco went 2-0 up against PSG, of course I had to watch that, because that is top tier fun. But yeah, I thought it was Glenn Hoddle on commentary on TNT saying that Ousmane was being hooked because he played poorly. Ballon d'Or holder, quadruple winner, Ballon d'Or current reigning holder. He's the Ballon d'Or winner. But I was like, there's no way he'd look way more miserable if he wasn't injured. But of course, Désiré Doué, who, by the way, speaking about Glenn Hoddle, when he was talking about Désiré Doué, he Del-Boyed it up massively and just called him Dese. Just like, Dese, he's doing well there, isn't he? Which I found very funny. So, yeah, I was chatting to my mate, and we just kept calling him Dese on WhatsApp. Yeah, man. And, yeah, Désiré came off the bench, 2 goals and an assist. He's different granules, that kid. He's not a teenager anymore, but when he was, he's fairly recently turned 20. They were said the 3 best attacking teenagers in the world are Lamine Yamal, Désiré Doué, and, of course, Gustavo Willian, our young Brazilian sensation. Of course, they had a red card as well. Golovin was sent off, and then, and PSG ended up taking the win. But I wanted to get into this a little bit more detail. French football analyst, broadcaster, journalist Tom Williams often goes onto football podcasts like the Totally Football Show. I'm a bit of a podcast fanatic. I'm sure I'll mention to you before, there's loads of football podcasts I listen to when I'm like running in the gym or just walking about, knocking about, doing some work. And he's been speaking about PSG this season in how they're waiting for they haven't clicked yet. Of course, last season it was around now when they sort of clicked, because do you remember they like this season didn't finish in the automatic qualification spots in the Champions League phase, but they did go on to win it and win everything else. But they haven't got the juice at the moment. Now, I'm very fearful to just criticise them because they might just click just in time to play Chelsea, do you know what I mean, in the Champions League. But they're not top of Ligue 1 at the moment. Lens has gone to the top of the league, which is crazy in middle of February, mid-late, past the halfway point of February. The fact how they're not top of Ligue 1 is insane. And really, we'll see what Karabakh do against Newcastle, but you'd expect Newcastle to beat them. And then it's going to be Newcastle or PSG we get drawn against. And of course, we have to take both of them seriously. Newcastle are, we sort of dealt with them recently quite well, but they can give anyone a bloody nose. Newcastle, and they've got great players. Of course, they had a good win last time out, didn't they, in the Prem? We'll see how they do tonight. They might literally slap up Karabakh and score a bunch of goals, and then we'll sort of go, ugh. But PSG, yeah, in a way, I kind of want us to play PSG again and beat them again. And sort of, because do you remember we always used to get drawn with them in the group phase back in like 10 years ago or whatever. We always used to get drawn with them, and there was a sort of mini rivalry. And we sort of, I think it was quite even the games, and we had a very good team, obviously. But to beat them in the Club World Cup final so handedly, so the way Cole Palmer just dunked on them, to beat them again in the Champions League, it will be a really nice feeling, very, very nice. So I kind of hope we do get drawn PSG out of the 4. I mean, we're not going to get drawn Monaco. They're not going to turn it around at the Parc des Princes with a deficit. It'll be very funny if they do. But I don't think we're going to get Karabakh. But again, we've already not beaten Karabakh before in the Champions League this season. So I'd like PSG, and I'd like these same players to be like, yeah, we got these boys. We'll beat them again. The reigning champions. That is a shot in the arm. Beating a Karabakh or a Newcastle or a Monaco, you'd be like, all right, we're through to the next stage. But to knock out the holders in PSG will be a real good, people have to now be like, oh, Rosenior's Chelsea have done something good and big, and we have to take them seriously. So I hope that we do. Right, so before we do the grading fun system thing, let's talk about Dusan Vlahovic. There's a meeting with him and Juventus bosses. Apparently Chelsea are weighing up a free transfer move. Now, I don't want to spend too long on this, because when I first reacted to the story that we're continually being linked to this striker, he's Serbian, isn't he? And he's like in his prime. He's like 26, so he's not he's not like a child, which the sporting directors want to sign. But we signed Tosin when he was, 26, 27 on a free. So maybe that's their policy with free transfers. Up to 20, the grand old age of 26. Quite literally 10 years younger than me, and I'm turning 37 next month, so it makes me feel very old. Yeah, I'm not interested in Dusan Vlahovic. I'll nail my colours to that mast very promptly. But he was, at one point, looking mustard, mate. So look, first of all, again, let's just talk. Say we spoke about Jackson considering playing for Chelsea again yesterday. Go check out that content for that. Lots of people not believing in Jackson or Delap, and we'll be like, well, Jackson's being sold, sell Delap, bring in a new striker. There's lots of people still in that category that will be like, keep João Pedro. We all love João Pedro, yeah. Keep developing, Shimweka. Keep probably loan Mark Yu. But bring in another senior striker, a proper centre forward, like an actual profiled centre forward. And there'll be some people out there, some Chelsea fans that bring in, free transfer Dusan Vlahovic sounds fine to me. We're not going to dunk, 80 million on a Sheshko or 70 million on Gyökeres or whatever like that. Of course, TK was 70 million. But we he's kind of young like João Pedro. João Pedro is doing better than Ekitike. Liverpool fans won't tell you that, but they've got the same, like I said yesterday, same amount of goals, but more assists from João Pedro. Is also winning penalties all the time as well, and playing in multiple positions. So yeah, just quickly on Dusan Vlahovic, a 26-year-old Serbian international who's sort of consistently scored goals. Like this season, in 2 appearances in the Champions League, he's got 3 goals and 1 assist. That's 4 goal involvements in 2 games, which is good in the Champions League. In La Liga, he's not doing great. He's not played much. I guess he's been injured or selected. 3 goals and 1 assist as well. Last season in the league, he got what João Pedro is on now. 10 goals and 4 assists. João Pedro got more than 4 assists? So it's not awful, but it's not good. He did it in 1,700 minutes. So in terms of the goals to minutes returns, pretty strong actually. And indeed, the season before, he got 16 goals and 4 assists, 20 goal involvements in 2,300 minutes. Not awful, but Juventus have been off the boil, of course, in recent years. It might not be an entirely fair reflection. For those 3 seasons in a row, including the season before, he was in double digits for goals in the league. But really, it is when Fiorentina. So yeah, it's when in the 2021 season, the year we won the Champions League, he got 21 league goals for Fiorentina, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the following season, in half a season, I think it was him, or was it Luke Jovic? I'm pretty sure it was Vlahovic. Because there was all these and then you had Belotti as well, these sort of strikers that were scoring a lot of goals that kind of flopped everywhere they went from different countries. But Vlahovic scored 17 goals in a season for Fiorentina that he was sold to Juventus in the winter transfer window. So before he was sold to Juventus, he'd already scored 17 goals before the January transfer window, or up to the point he was sold in the January transfer window, which is insane. I think it was him in the 21-22 season, because he's being listed. Yeah. So he scored 17 goals in 21 appearances and 2 assists as well. 19 goal involvements in 21 games. Insane. 19 goal involvements in 1,800 minutes. Insane. So he was popping off. He's probably 20 years old. They're insane numbers by any standards, by any metrics. And then he gets the move to Juventus, and he still manages to score 7 league goals in the second half of the season. Nothing compared to Fiorentina, but they'll take it. So he did pop off at one point. And maybe, I don't know, if there's people at Chelsea that go free transfer, senior striker, he'll agree to a wage structure. I say no. But if Jackson's definitely going, if Delap doesn't stay, and I'm not trying to sell Delap before you accuse me of that. I don't know. Because Chelsea and strikers transfers stories, English, will never go away, bro. And until Vlahovic, as a 26-year-old man now, is about to be a free transfer, until he either extends with Juventus or goes elsewhere, this story won't die. But this is the final, dying embers of the Vlahovic to Chelsea's links, I think. Right then, limber up, do some stretches, and settle into your chair. Pour yourself a hot or cold beverage, because we're going to do Yannick's grading system. It's going to be a grading system. So, F to A. And obviously some players that will be on the men's list will not get a rating because they haven't played enough. So, starting, if you haven't got the video on now, you could see the video. I've just got the Chelsea way. It's nice graphics. It's nice layout, the way they've done it. I like it. Anyway, starting off with Big Bob, Robert Sanchez. Now, of course, we're waiting till the end of the season before we have a definitive opinion on the Chelsea #1 goalkeeper. But he's been pretty darn good. It's really only been a couple of games. I think, obviously, away at Old Trafford, when he gets sent off, and we should have won that game, and instead we lose it, and that's huge for us, because Man United are above us in the Premier League, and they should be below us, and we never win at Old Trafford, and that stung my heart, that we just can't beat this terrible team. And that, for me, I know it was a rush of blood, but for me, I was really annoyed about that. And the first game against Arsenal in the semi-final, which kind of, I hate to say this because he's been so good, ruined the tie for us. He was very poor. He chucked a couple in, didn't he? So they're only, you'd be like, yeah, and they're 2 games, and the red card was a rush of blood, but they're such high profile, as the Americans say, snafus. So, for me, I'm going to give him a B. I was thinking B plus A minus, but because of those high profile moments, you can be really good, but if you're going to chuck them in the big moments, of course he was amazing in the Club World Cup, but we are analysing, I'm just giving him a B this season. That's pretty strong. I'm not going to grade Jorgensen, Charmin Low, or Gaga. Now, he's not been at his best, but he's still been pretty ruddy darn good. Last season, we were best left back in the world, and we had a very good, strong case to make that. He's only scored 1 goal. It was an important goal this season. He was popping off a few last season, but he's still been really, really important. I'm going to grade him by his own lofty high standards and give him a B minus. Because, last season he was an A, for sure. Tosin, I actually think, he hasn't played much, but I think he's been quite poor. He's going to come in now and be a rotational player. He was never Chelsea's starting centre-back, but even by his standards that we wanted to rely on him, I'm going to give him a C minus. Some of you might think that's generous, but I don't want to be too mean. He gets a C minus. Benoit Badiashile, in the Chelsea fan base, he does still have some believers, and Chelsea as a club still believe in him a lot. I've seen him play quite badly recently, and I am going to give him a D+, because I have seen moments, I think 1 game he was serviceable, but D+, again, some people might find that generous. I've seen him play good games for Chelsea, believe it or not, and he's a rare profile, he's tall, he's really strong, and he's left footer, which is super rare in the Chelsea squad. Cole, of course, hasn't played, doesn't get a rating. Mamadou Sarr has literally played 1 game, looked very good, but, it was against Hull in the FA Cup, so we won't rate him. Jarell Hatto, now this is tricky, because Maresca massively underplayed him. He played him in that game against Karabag, I think it was. The aforementioned 2-2 draw where we should have won. And that was sort of Hatto's, the nadir of Hatto's short Chelsea career. but he's also come in and looked pretty well. Pretty good. I'm gonna give him a flat C, but I think by the end of the season we could be looking at a B- or something when he settled in. But not a C plus, just a flat C, because he's 19. He's been thrown into the team, and I've seen that he's actually looked pretty spicy, pretty good at a couple occasions. Chalabar's been broadly excellent. He did. We forget, a lot of people forget, he did go through a stinky patch of form, but he's played in multiple positions as a right-sided defender, right footer, who's played right back. That I don't like him playing there, but he's a right-sided centre back. He's played really well at left centre back. I'm going to give Trev a... He's not been perfect because he went through a period of bad games, but a B-, which I think is very strong, for Chelsea football squad standards. I think that's a strong rating. Reece is tricky, isn't it? Because he's he had a couple of really good... He's had some clutch moments. He's Chelsea's captain. But again, in the same way I was talking about Cucurella, you got to grade him by his own standards. Now, you might disagree with me on this one, but I think Reece can be so effective. I mean, he had that amazing game in midfield when we went down to 10 men against Arsenal in the league. But I've got to grade him on his world-class standards. I think, he's had some quiet games. I'm either thinking C plus or B-. I might say B- because I'm just scared because he's looking more and more like a proper captain. So we'll go with a B- for Capitano, Reece James, Malo Gusto. God, these are going to get tricky, aren't they? It's a fun game. This is tricky. Malo Gusto played in number 10, central defensive midfield, right back, heck, even left back. Started scoring goals this season, which has to be a huge plus. I really like Gusto. He came to Chelsea as a conventional right back that puts crosses in and got assists for Pochettino. He then played on all these different midfield profiles. He scored the goals. Because he's not I'm going to grade him on what he represents in the squad. I'm going to give him a B-. Because I don't look at him like you're a Chelsea starter, you need to be really good. He's 21, Malo Gusto. We signed him when he was 19, like Hato's age. 21, possibly 22. I still think he might be 21. So yeah, that's how I'm going to grade him. Wesley has had some really high-profile performances in terms of really good. We've seen it on high sofa score ratings. Of course, really good at getting back and defending. He's really aggressive. But for me, I think I'm going to grade him on the Chelsea starting level centre-back. And I know he can be amazing. I'm going to give him a C+, because I'm not going to give him a B- because I think he can be so influential. I want to get a few goals out of him as well. So, yeah, I think he will come good. Josh, tricky one, teenager, academy, had a couple of bad games. Not really his fault. He hasn't got a chance. I'm gonna give him a C, sort of neutral, and that's totally fine. I think. Because he's been thrown around with different positions, different managers, it's not massively his fault when he's had a couple of bad performances. Some Chelsea fans have lost faith in him, which I think is a bit unfair. The briefing from the club is we really, really like him and we see a huge future. So I'm just going to give him that sort of flat C grade. Enzo Fernandez, I think he's got the most minutes in the Chelsea squad, more than Robert Sanchez. And that's insane. Our first choice goalkeeper's got less minutes than an outfield player, and it's Enzo Fernandez. He scores goals, he scores assists. He does have some quiet games. He's been played at defensive midfield, attacking midfield, left a sort of starting left winger that occupies the left pocket. He's been good for us for a while now. One of our better players. I've not handed out anything crazy yet, have I? Because I'm like, can I hand up Enzo Fernandez? Will it be controversial to give him an A-? I don't know, because when you talk, that's tricky, isn't it? I saw Chelsea fans argue on social media about player of the season. Fernandez is in the conversation for a lot of people. And I'm talking about how he's not in the untouchables, where we all sort of think he is now, but at the beginning of the season, how he's not in these untouchables, this group of Chelsea players. I'm gonna bottle it and just give him a B plus, but I think he's been broadly excellent. Sugo I can't rate. Now Santos I think looks excellent, but it is broadly because he'd only just started being played and trusted by Rosenior. So I'm gonna give him a B because he looks like a nail on starter for Rosenior at the moment. He makes other players better. In a time where we'll speak about Caicedo in a moment, he's probably dipped a little bit of form. Santos, I'm just gonna give a flat B, and I think that could go into the A's by the end of the season in terms of how important he's gonna be for Rosenior. Now Caicedo. At the last 18 months, maybe even 24 months, people are recognising his quality finally. He started the season like a man on flames. He has dipped a little bit, but you've got to, like the other superstars, judge him by his own standards. I don't think he's been very good recently. I think he's been fine. Like, you definitely start him. He's getting way too many bookings. He's giving away silly free kicks. I think he conceded a penalty. He's not scoring his worldies. I'm gonna give him a C plus. But that sounds harsh, but it's only because I'm judging him by his standards, where he should be in the A's all of the time. Lavia, I refuse to grade because he hasn't played. He's not the other guys. Neto is a tricky one because he's consistently scoring and assisting. He's quite literally played in every position in the front four. Right wing, native right wing. He plays loads of left wing. He was false nine a bunch of times. He's been last season and this season. And the last game, of course, against Hull, he played as a number 10 and got a hat-trick. He could probably play as a wing-back quite comfortably as well. He's trusted by Maresca and Rosenior. They'll always turn to him. He isn't maybe the fan. He's kind of like the Willian or the Pedro Rodriguez of this team in terms of works really hard, really professional, probably underrated by the fan base, and actually often gives reason to frustrate with his final action and his decision making. But I think because he's so reliable, he scored 3 goals in the Club World Cup as well, and he scored a bunch of goals and assists this season across competitions. I am going to give him, and this might be controversial, but because he's always available and he always works hard, a bit like kind of in the Enzo Fernandez field, even though he might not score or assist as much, I'm going to give him a B minus. A lot of you won't like that. Liam Delap has been disappointing. He's been disappointing. Because what you expect, he had a Premier League season. He had a Premier League season, so he's not some kid. He's not like a Estevao we brought on from Brazil. He knows all about English football, the English League football, the Premier League. He has had injury problems. He has had, I'm going to give him... I thought it was going to be so much better than this, man. I thought it was going to be so much better. D plus. D plus. Now Palmer. Cole Palmer. Of course he's not been at his lofty standards. He's starting to pick up goals and assists again and have some good half turns. But of course it's a down season of him again because of injury. I'm going to give Palmer, and again, by the same rule as before, judging by his ability and standards, I understand it's because of his injury, but I'm going to give him a C plus because Palmer, again, is an A player. And by the end of the season, he'll probably be like a flat B because he'll have loads of goals and assists. And if he was like, a random player that played for any other club, you go, wow, A star, A plus. But it's Cole Palmer, and we've got to hold Cole Palmer to Cole Palmer standards, injury aside. So that's what we got to look at. I'm not gonna rate Jamie Gittins. He's been disappointing when I've seen him. He scored that worldie. Okay, he has played some minutes. And he has played out of position on the right, but yeah, D plus. But again, it's hard to rate him. Now, Joao Pedro, not plus, but gets an A. For me, the highest rating. He costs £55 million. Scored 3 goals in the Club World Cup, although we're not including that in our considerations for this game. But he dipped in form, which he does. He's been played as a number 10 under Maresca loads, which didn't serve him. He said he wants to be as a striker. Rosenior's come in and said, yep, you can be a striker, and he's absolutely exploded. Goals, assists, worldies, in the Diego Maradona, winning penalties. I'm not going to give him an A+, but I'm going to give him an A, because my giddy aunt, he looks, and the way his application as well, sprinting, defensive work, combative, brave, productive, versatile, all of it really. So yeah, he gets an A for me. Mark Yu, tough ride. I'm just going to give him a C. Not really getting much time. Steval Willian, I'm going to give an A-. It's not quite an A with João Pedro, and he's obviously had a few games, Steval, where he struggled, Leeds away and this. But the fact how he's an 18-year-old child that's come from Brazil, he's never even played in Europe, he's learning the language. He's a relatively shy, introverted kid, and he's scoring winners against Liverpool. Looking really good against Barcelona in the Champions League. Because he dipped a little bit, no one's going to get an A+. João Pedro gets a flat A, but I give him an A- Steval Willian, purely because of the context of the situation. Like I say, you got to look at the player, how established they are, and what the standards we hold them to. We didn't even have any idea that Steval would play so much this season. So gives an A-. Mudryk, of course, doesn't get a rating. And Alejandro Garnacho, we have to end on a really, really low point. And I'm not writing him off as a player, but he's looked so lost. And I know he scored a couple of goals against Arsenal, but they didn't mean anything in the end. I think he does want to do well at Chelsea. He was starting Chelsea starting left wing at the beginning of the season. But he's got so much Premier League experience, even though he's only 21, 22. He's been playing in the Premier League for years. He knows the score. He knows what to do. And he looks bereft of confidence. His performances are low. I'm going to give him an E+. The lowest ranking. I feel bad. I'm not totally writing him off. But because, again, he's got so much Premier League experience. He's supposed to be. I know didn't cost insane amounts of money, but he's still a £40 million player that we got for cheap, inverted commas, because of the context of the situation. So much Premier League experience. He's been given a lot of minutes. And, he's been bad at the back post defending. He's been bad attacking. I'm not writing him off, but he's been very, very poor. So, therefore, the lowest rated player for me. Well, there you go. That was a fun game. We haven't done that in a little while. Let me know if you've enjoyed it and you like the kind of stuff like that, because I enjoy doing it. But I want you to enjoy listening to it or watching it. That's the end of the content, gang. So, thank you for liking and subscribing on YouTube. Popping over to Spotify, searching Football Therapy. I can't talk now. My words have expired. Football Therapy Podcast on Spotify. I'll be grateful for a follow and a 5-star rating. Take care, friends. Peace.